Dímelo mi gente, what up? It's your boy Gus from Gus Jewelry, back with another Q&A Fridays where I answer your questions. As always, I put up a post on Instagram. I've now grabbed all the questions from not only Instagram, but YouTube as well. Today's episode, we got a bunch of really good questions, like what are the difference between a modern and a vintage Daytona, and also what is the history behind the Miami Cuban link chain. I'm here to answer those today. Before I get into the video, please remember, like and subscribe. I see a lot of you guys watching my content, but not a lot of you guys are actually subscribing, so please do so. Help your boy out. Subscribe to the channel. Either way, creep, roll, have music, por favor.
Gus Jewelry.
Question number one comes from Cardinals AV. He wants to know, do you know the history of the Cuban link chain? To be honest with you, anyone who properly answers that with a serious base has no idea what they're actually talking about, because there's no literature or a book or anything that you can check where they say it started. It did. Here is my best prediction on where the Cuban link chain came from. The Cuban link chain is not even a real pattern that came from Miami itself. It's an older style chain that came from Italy. It's actually called a curb link chain, even though now the distinction is quite noticeable. Back in the 70s and 80s, when it became very popular in hip hop culture, it was basically a curb link chain. It wasn't until they started making it down here in Miami that they started fighting it a bit sharper, making the links a lot tighter, and giving it that very distinctive Miami Cuban link look. I think what separates it from any regular curb link chain is the spacing and that sharp polish and file. But to pinpoint exactly where it came from, whether it have been an artist or whether it have been Cubans in Miami or whatever it was, there's no real way to check to see if that's true. So nobody knows is the answer. My prediction is that chain got here from Italy. They made it handmade over here, and then they shaped it the way they wanted to. Maybe some Cubans got a hold of it and started wearing it a lot, and that's how it became the Miami Cuban link chain. However, I don't really know. Next question. Question number 2 comes from Mike1513. Do you provide certificates of authenticity? No, we do not. Let me explain to you why. Anytime that you are going to perform some sort of certificate of authenticity, you have no validity by doing it yourself. I can't just say, hey, listen, this diamond is this grade because I said so. The only way to verify anything that you sell is to cross-check it with a party that has nothing to do with me. That is how everyone does it. It's like getting a Carfax report and me giving you the report and sending it in myself. Hey, this car's good. Nobody crashed it. You're fine.
We want to talk about this tonight. The FBI investigating itself.
Of course, I could say whatever the hell it is I want. I don't understand why these jewelers send out certificates of authenticity as if that's supposed to give it any sort of credibility. It's not. For insurance purposes, if you want to quote, all insurance companies are going to ask you is just the invoice. That's it. And I can put something higher if ultimately you want, so that you can insure it for a higher amount. But the certificate of authenticity is the biggest load of in the jewelry business, period. You want to say that? Yes. So for those people that are getting these certificates and thinking that it has any sort of worth, it does not. I have a very common saying, you guys have heard me on YouTube say it a million times. Trust but verify. If you don't believe me that what I'm sending you is a 10 karat, 14 karat, 18 karat, 22 karat, go to any other jewelry store and hit it with a thermal gun, and you are going to see that what I'm saying is actually what you're getting. Forget some stupid card or some sort of printout that they're selling you saying that it's an authentic certificate, because that's horse. Good it done the right way. Verify it with a third party. Next question.
Do you have any other questions for me, counselor?
Question number 3 comes from Rave Wanderers. He wants to know, what's the maintenance like on solid rose gold pieces? Are they plated all like white gold is? There's a lot of people think that when I send over a rose gold piece, it doesn't have any plating on top of it. Rose gold mixed with just yellow gold or rose alloy with yellow gold, I should say, gives it a very rose look. However, if you want that stunning, beautiful look that most people like once you open up the package, we do flash plate it. Now that usually lasts anywhere from 1 to 2 years. How you do maintenance on it, to be honest with you, it's very much so like white gold or anything that's dipped in rhodium or even gold over silver, anything that's plated. You're gonna want to take care of it, avoid using any polishing rags or heavy chemicals on it. Every once in a while, you're gonna grab some Tupperware, heat that bad boy up really hot in water, put some Dawn soap, lay the chain in there for about 3 to 5 minutes until that water gets cool. Take it out, grab a toothbrush, and run it across the entire chain. Afterwards, just run it through some fresh water, pat dry it with some paper towels, you're good to go. But you only need to do that if it's some really crazy stuff. You don't have to be cleaning your piece once, maybe every 6 months. I clean my piece once a year, and I buff my pieces maybe once every 10 years. Rose gold, just because if you want to preserve that plating, it's a little bit more love, but it's nothing crazy. Don't overdo it. Relax with the crazy chemicals. Relax with the polishing racks for the low price, and just do it every once in a while. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Next question. Question number 4 comes from Yanni's Bell B. She wants to know, what is the difference between a modern and a vintage Rolex Daytona? I am in no way an expert. I'm a huge fan of the Rolex Daytona. I think that a lot of us here are. I mean, who doesn't love the most probably iconic watch that Rolex has ever made? However, the nuances in which you to start telling a vintage Daytona from a modern Daytona are pretty blatant. Vintage Daytona is a whole other monster. The dials are different in the sense of like the color and the way they look, the shape, etc. A lot of it has to do with how the bezel looks. Once they switched over to, say for instance, what considered modern in Zenith Daytonas, they changed it slightly. And then when you get into like the 1165-20s, which are the stainless steel modern Daytonas, or even the 116500 LNs, which come with the ceramic bezel, those are completely different. They don't look it, but the little nuances are the differences. And you really need to start looking at them long periods of time before you could just look at something and say, okay, cool, this is a modern and this is a vintage. On a Zenith Daytona, aka the 16520 stainless steel, the sub-dial, aka the one that's at 6 o'clock, will have the 12-hour marker there. So if you first glance, that's all you have a picture of. You could easily tell by looking at that 6 o'clock dial and seeing if it has a 12, a 3, and a 6 or a 9, that's a Zenith one. The newer ones have a little bit different of a bezel, and then the dials are not going to be the same. But ultimately, ask someone that knows. Again, I am no expert in Daytonas. I ask a million questions. The worst thing that you could possibly do when you're going to go out there and spend thousands of dollars on a Daytona is get one that people are saying is vintage and it's not, or maybe saying that's modern and is really a Frankenstein mixed with a bunch of different year parts.
Well, look at my Jordan. This a Jordan watch. Nigga, this shit custom made. Rich as fuck. Nobody got this shit. Nobody famous.
Question number 5 comes from Mike the Tank. He wants to know, what's the difference between a mechanical watch and a manual winding watch, and which one should I buy? So let me explain to you, there are 3 different types of watches. Number 1, a quartz watch, an automatic watch, and a manual winding watch. Quartz watches are watches that are powered by a battery. The other 2 are powered by gravity. And what do I mean by that? An automatic watch is going to wind itself up by a rotor that spins around and around and around as you move your hand. A manual winding watch doesn't have that rotor that counterbalances as you move around. You actually have to spin the crown over and over, usually every about 48 to 72 hours to wind the watch for it to work. It really depends on how you like to maintenance a watch. One of the most iconic manual winding watches is an Omega Speedmaster. I happen to have one. A lot of watch collectors out there will say everyone should have one in their collection. And that is a watch that you have to manually wind about every 2 days just to make sure that it's going to function. Now, sometimes you forget, but I do love that connection that you have with a watch when you have to wake up and wind that thing yourself. There's just something that is intrinsically valuable there. When you really love watches and the mechanics behind it, it's really cool that that kind of technology still exists. If you don't necessarily want that maintenance, get the automatic watch. You'll never have to change the battery. Of course, you will have to service it every 10 to 15 years. Some people even say only service your watch when it's broken. However, that thing is going to spin around, counter gravity, and spin that rotor around and wind that watch automatically for you. if you don't even want to think about it, that's probably the route you're going to go for. But there isn't some sort of benefit that one has over the other than the fact that you have to spin a crown every once in a while. And to be honest with you, if you're really overly concerned about that, you're probably not into watches that much. And you should probably get a quartz one with a battery. That way you don't have to remember it at all. Just every couple of years when you have to change the battery, you change it and that's it. So fall in love more with the horology of the watch that you're about to buy. Maybe the brand, the price point, whether it's automatic or self-winding really has no bearing over whether you should buy it or not, because there are some really, really dope watches that are self-winding. So go with your heart desires. That about does it for another Q&A Fridays. Just like last week, I'm still going to put up that post on Instagram, but I want you guys to comment your questions right down below. I'm grabbing them right here. Subscribe to the channel, like this, share this with anyone. We are growing this channel like you wouldn't imagine. There are really, really big things that are coming. We got the store coming. We got the brand new website coming. I would love nothing more than for you guys to subscribe to the channel and become part of this community that's growing at such a happy, fast rate. I'm so thankful to you guys. I can't thank you enough, man. It's so much love that I get from this YouTube that I never thought I was going to be able to get. So I really, really appreciate it. I'll catch you guys next week. Hi.